Hey guys, what's up? This is Francisco with Valareso Capital, and today we're gonna do the market update video for the week. We had a crazy week. It was a pretty amazing bullish week, a pretty amazing move for the bulls, and I think it's gonna continue. I do think that the market is due for some kind of consolidation or maybe a pullback, and we're gonna go onto the details of why do I think that that is the case. And then we're also going to take a look at the different indexes. We're going to go through the Nasdaq Composite, SPY, QQQ, DIA. We're going to take a look at the UVXY, and then perhaps we're going to go into some of the other ETFs such as gold, silver, and we're going to try to decipher what the market is trying to tell us. And remember that this is for informational purposes only, and all the analysis is based on my personal opinion. So let's get right into it. Right here in my screens, I have the ISIC, which is the Nasdaq Composite in trading view. That's the ticker symbol, and you can see right here, for anyone who's new to the channel, I use two indicators. I have right here, I have the TTM squeeze developed by John Carter, which basically helps me to find compression in volatility. That way I can see when the stock price is actually contracting before expanding. And then the indicator that I have on top, this is the trend oscillator developed by Sam Shames, and I'm using for this one, I have a daily chart on my screens. For the TTM, I use the daily settings, but for the trend oscillator, I like to use the 30-minute settings. That way I can see the momentum a little bit faster. And what I have found is that it actually gives me super high probability signals in terms of continuation or perhaps divergences that can anticipate or suggest that there's going to be a change in trend or perhaps a pullback in price. So now that you understand that, what I have in my screens, right, I usually use my candles black. That way I can just focus on momentum and trend. That's the way that I trade. I don't care if we have a red day or a green day. I'm just looking at trend, and I just want to see if the trend is going to continue. That way I can ride the trends for as long as they last. And then on also my screens, the moving averages that I use, the one that is on top, which is the orange line right here, is the 8 exponential moving average. Then I have the 21 exponential moving average. And then right here, I have the 50 daily moving average. And I also use the 200 daily, which is a little bit above, which is this pink line right here. As you can see, I do a lot of technical analysis. And let me just hide this indicator here. We don't need it. And you can see basically all the lines that I have here, basically the lines that have dots. I'm looking for gaps in price. And then all the extensions that I have here, I use a lot of Fibonacci analysis because I have found a lot of success doing it. So now let's take a look at price. And you can see right here, the Nasdaq Composite, we have a pretty strong move. You can see that here, right here, we have the 50 daily moving average. And you can see that we broke above this level of resistance, which these levels of resistance are calculated automatically. That way I don't have to look for these swings. The indicator is going to do it for me. So you can see here, right, we have a pretty strong level of resistance here. Price actually broke above it. And you can see what I actually love about the trend oscillator, and that's one of the reasons that I use it on a 30-minute basis. You can see that the trend oscillator started trending since right here. You can see that we found support right here in the EMA of the trend oscillator. And then you can see also that price was making higher highs. And the trend oscillator helped us understand that we are actually entering into trend. The moment the trend oscillator goes above the 50 line, that means that now we have completely positive momentum, and any pullbacks into the moving averages have a high probability of holding. And then we have a high probability of continuing that. We have a high probability of continuation to the upside. So that's what I'm finding here, and it looks pretty amazing. You can see that we have a pretty strong move to the upside, and then we tested that 50 daily moving average, and then we have a pretty strong move. Now, what I'm starting to see here, you can see that we are actually starting to stall, right? You can see that the price is actually going higher, but the momentum is starting to flatten out. That's one of the signals that I usually get before price starts to pull back. Now, what's the other reason what I think we are starting to, we're probably going to see a pullback next week? If you run, any of you that do Fibonacci analysis, if you run a retracement from this level right here all the way to this level down here, you can see that the 0618 level comes right here into this level. So you can see here that basically price is already at that level. And that is one of the reasons which I think that we might see price perhaps pausing or perhaps pulling back. Now, in the case, if we pull back, I'm looking for a retest of the breakout level, which is right here. And that will also, and that means that the 21 exponential moving average will also come into place at that, somewhere around that level. So if we happen to pull back here, I'm expecting this level, which is somewhere around 12,300 to hold a support. And then I'm expecting a continuation higher all the way somewhere around 13,400, or perhaps when we meet that 200 daily moving average in the Nasdaq Composite. We can take a look at some other of the indexes. We can take a look at the SPY, but most of the indexes, they're going to look the same way, right? What I really want to show you here is the ability of the trend oscillator to actually find the trend before it happens, or before someone can understand that we're entering into a trend. You can see that the trend oscillator is starting to find support in the EMA all the way since this drop right here, when we have that pretty strong move to the downside, and that selling pressure that we have somewhere around June. Now, basically the SPY is kind of in the same route as the Nasdaq Composite. The only difference is that the SPY, which is the S&P 500, is somewhere around that 200 daily. Are we going to have a strong move on Monday to reach that level and then we're going to pull back? That is something that we will have to wait and see. But you can also see that the momentum in the SPY continues to go higher. So there is no signal in the SPY that we're actually going to see a pullback anytime soon. But of course, if we have one, I'm going to be looking at this 411, 410-ish level, which also means that the 21 exponential moving average is going to come into play as well. And then let's move fast into the QQQ, which looks pretty similar. And you can see that the 0618 level, which is also measured from that high that we had in April all the way to this low right here into June. We're having the 0618 retracement level somewhere around 332, and I'm expecting for price to actually find resistance at that level, and then we're gonna retest this breakout level, and then we're probably gonna form a flag here before continuing higher and meeting that 200 daily. That's my expectation for next week, and you can see right here that I already drew the divergence. We actually already have a bearish divergence in the momentum indicator. Something that I have found is that momentum changes structure before price, and that is something really, really important for us to understand. Momentum changes structure before price, and that's something that is going to help you a lot, and it's something that already happened many occasions, and I have a few examples here so that you can check. You can see here that we made a lower low right here somewhere around the mid of June, but you can see that the trend oscillator, which is the momentum indicator, was actually making a higher low. And then after that, we enter into trend, and then you can see that we have been trending, finding support at that level every single time. But now we're starting to make a lower high in the momentum indicator as price is making a higher high. That means a bearish divergence. So I will expect this momentum indicator to come back to the midline, and then perhaps price to come back to that 21 exponential moving average and retest this breakout level right here. So I'm going to be looking for that opportunity in the QQQ, which is the Nasdaq 100. Then let's take a look at the DIA. You can see that we had a pretty strong move in the DIA. You can see that we actually had the squeeze fire long. We have a pretty strong move, and now we are already meeting the 200 daily moving average, and we are above the 0618 retracement, which was also measured from the height of April all the way to the low swing of June. So we have a pretty strong move in the DIA, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the industrial average, and you can see that we continue to make higher highs in the momentum indicator, meaning that this could continue to the upside. Now, those are basically the ETFs that I wanted to check. We can also take a look at IWO because I think it's important to understand this, that the growth, that what I'm seeing is that actually the small cap, which is the Russell, especially growth, is actually outperforming the Nasdaq for what I'm seeing. You can see that we had a pretty strong move to the upside. When we pull back, we didn't even pull back to that 50. We pulled back into this breakout level, into that 8 exponential moving average, and then we basically just had a pretty strong melt up for the bulls. And you can see that we found support at that EMA, and that the indicator continues to make a higher high, which while price continues to also make a higher high, which means that momentum continues to be lower. And I'm going to be waiting for this indicator to actually diverge, to make a divergence first before price to consider a possible pullback. And then we will have to see where we pull back. I will prefer a pullback to the 21 exponential moving average, but of course the market is going to do whatever the market thinks is going to, whatever the market wants to do, basically. So now that we have that, I have a couple of ETFs that I want to show you. But first, let's take a look at UBXY. And you can see that the UBXY, we actually have the same, right? That's what I'm using. That's what I love about this indicator. You can see that price, right? You can see that we have a pretty strong move here in the UBXY, and you can see that we actually have a divergence. We have a lower low, but we actually had a higher high in the momentum indicator. Remember, momentum changes before price structure. So as soon as we have that, we could expect that this is going to snap back. And that's actually what happened. Price snapped back all the way to the upside, found resistance at that 200 daily, as it has been founding resistance at that level. And then you can see that the trend oscillator started to trend to the downside right here. And then you can see that the 21 exponential moving average, same as that EMA, is acting as resistance. And we had a pretty strong move to the downside. And momentum continues to go lower, right? So we will have to wait and see. Maybe momentum is going to go all the way to exhaustion, all the way to the 30 level, which is pretty rare. And if we see that, I will expect that to be support for the UBXY, and then perhaps we're going to see a pullback in the indexes. So that's what I'm looking for. And then let's take a look at ARK now that we are talking about all these momentum stocks. And you can see that ARK already has a divergence. And you can see that I already pointed the divergence right here. You can see that we had a higher high in price, but we actually had a lower high in the momentum indicator. So that means that perhaps we're going to see a pullback. I'm thinking somewhere around this 47.50 level, which is the 21 exponential moving average. Perhaps we're going to fill this gap. We have actually a pretty small gap right here. Perhaps we're going to fill it. And then perhaps we are going to form kind of a cup and handle right here before breaking up and going all the way to that 57.50 level, which is also a retracement, a 0618 retracement measure from the April high all the way to this low that we had in May. So this setup is actually looking amazing. If we actually have that handle and we have some days of consolidation right below that 53 pivot, I think we're going to have a pretty strong move to the upside in ARK, and we are going to be able to play with a lot of these high beta stocks. And then some of the indexes that I wanted to show you, I wanted to take a look at UNG. I think this one is looking pretty amazing. And you can see right here, you can see pretty much, you can see all the way we have the cup. Now we're forming that handle. We have this level right here, which is somewhere around 32. We have this level of resistance here, and you can see that the momentum indicator already tested that midline. It found support. We had a strong move to the upside. Now the question is if we're going to pull back one more time before actually breaking to the upside. As long as the momentum indicator continues to be above the 50 line, I'm going to be more inclined to play UNG to the upside and then actually look for new 52-week highs in this product. And then another one that I wanted to show you, let's take a look at UP, which is the dollar index. And one of the reasons, basically you can see that the dollar index has been going pretty up. It has been basically on a bull run, pretty strong bull run. You can see all the way since down here all the way to the top. And I think right now that the dollar index is actually topping out, which is actually will be a positive for stocks, in my opinion. And you can see right here that we're starting to lose a lot of momentum. You can see that the momentum oscillator is starting to move below that 50 line, and you can see that price broke below the 50 daily moving average, and we are starting to find resistance somewhere around this 0618 level, which is basically the retracement from this level to this level, and we are now below the 21 exponential moving average. So I will expect the UUP to continue to move to the downside. And then finally, let's take a look at TNX. And we actually had a reversal in TNX. However, I think that this reversal is coming directly into resistance. Why do I think it's coming directly into resistance? If you measure a Fibonacci retracement from this level to this level, you can see that we have a couple of 0618 retracements, also one measure from this level to this level, and we're starting to find resistance at that level. And you can see that we are already testing that midline, but we're testing that midline coming from the downside. So I think that there's a high probability that the TNX is going to find resistance here and perhaps continue to move lower, which will also mean that will be a positive for stocks, because that will mean that the inflation is peaking out, and I think that will be positive for stocks. And you can use TLT as a confirmation. We actually had a pretty strong move to the downside. However, as you can see, TLT broke above this 50, and we actually had a gap, right? Before all this price action, we actually had a gap between price and the 50. And usually what happens is when price breaks above a level, breaks above the 50, it usually retested. So if TLT is able to find resistance at this level, I think that this is going to move higher. And usually in the price cycle that we usually see bonds move first, and then we start to see stocks, then commodities follow the action of bonds. So I'm expecting bonds to move higher, and I think that will be also a positive for stocks. So basically, the outlook for me in the coming weeks and perhaps the coming month is actually bullish. I think that the market is setting a tone going all the way to September, into the next Fed meeting that I think is in mid-September. I think that the market is going to have plenty of time to make a pretty strong run. However, I do think that price is getting a little bit ahead of itself, and that we might see a pullback, and it's actually going to be a golden opportunity for us to buy that pullback and then look for a continuation higher on stocks. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I think there's a lot of more things that we can cover, but I usually like to make these videos under 20 minutes so that you can see it, and then you can get the most important information that I can share with you, and then you can use it and apply it to your own analysis. So thank you so much. Remember to like and subscribe, and also check my Twitter account, where I do post a lot of information daily. So thank you so much, guys, and peace. Bye bye.